Hello, everyone. Anthony with You're Not Alone. Want to get this one? It's kind of off the cuff. It's something I just thought about, and I just want to get it down. It's probably going to be posted a day or two after its creation, but in the moment, I realized something very clear, and I wanted to kind of point you towards Gary Vaynerchuk, and I'll probably give him a shout out on Twitter. If you haven't heard of him, he's from Russia. Took his family company from 3 million to 60 million. He was known as the wine critic, started winelibrary.com. Then he went to create VaynerMedia and VaynerX, social media marketing companies, digital marketing, and he's a speaker and he does all these different things around the world. So the reason why I brought him up and I wanted to use him as an example is trying to explain to you where a lot of people, and including myself, over time I'm changing it, but including myself, how we get to an action. Most of us think, then do the action. So we'll think about what it would take to get there and all these different things and what could go wrong and what could be right. When you look at Gary Vaynerchuk and if you understand his schedule, he talks about it a few times on some of his podcasts. Every meeting's like 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. Nothing really goes over a half hour. And the reason why that is because that's about all he needs to get through that meeting. He cuts a lot of the extra stuff out. When you go to a meeting at work and it's an hour long, and there's all these different things to talk about, in his meetings, it's the 15 minutes it takes to talk about the subject, and then it's done. So people ask, well, how do you do that, Gary? How do you start at 6 a.m. and do it all the way till 8 p.m.? Which I've listened to podcasts where he's midway through that day, and he seems fine. He seems like he's got a ton of energy and he's going. And this is the best way I can explain it. We go back to that original idea that our thoughts lead to our actions. So we sit there and think for 30 minutes on the action to take place. For Gary, it's the exact opposite. His actions lead to his thoughts. So he'll go through a meeting, tell what needs to be happen, make it happen, get it done, and then he'll watch what effects his actions cause. And then based on that, then he'll go into another action. He doesn't have those fears that hinder us, most of us, as humans. In his mind, there is no such thing. Maybe he has fears, maybe he's like anxious on certain things, but when it comes to getting things done, he does not allow those ancillary, could be the right word, ideas and thoughts to push and get in the way of what needs to be done. And that's a huge thing. That's what it takes to really get through days of ultimate productivity and continuous productivity, right? Every person, including myself on this one again, you guys aren't alone. You'll have like that one day of, you'll just get a bunch done, but then you'll have like a week of doing nothing. And that's because you supersede those thoughts for a day. You allow awareness to pick in and show itself and be your leading light. You're present, you're aware of what's going on, you're paying attention to everything, and you're making actions based on the knowledge you have and know, and just going for it at times, even if you don't know all the answers. That way, you're not spending all this energy on extra scenarios. The what ifs take energy to think about. Whether you believe it or not, or whatever you follow, our brains do have a certain capacity in terms of usage per day. Hours of sleep per being awake. You can kind of use things like coffee and sugars to push it a little forward, but at the same time, you're just kind of hurting yourself. If anything, you're lessening the time you have to live, so it's going to, over time, reduce the amount of time you have versus trying to stay awake. But the reality of that is, when you look at the time you use per day and strip away all those extra what ifs and you just go to the actions, and then you just pay attention to the effects of your actions, the cause and effect, you'll use so much, or I guess it'd be so little energy compared to what you used to, maybe so much more energy being active and following up and creating those actions you're supposed to be creating, that you'll get so much more done, and it won't feel like you did much more because you're not changing out activity like and adding more activity. You're changing out all that thought that you used to do and made it all activity. So the energy release is almost exactly the same. Yes, there'll be a few more, maybe a little bit more, maybe a little more fear at first because of getting things done, and that's hard. I get that, But if you really want to make something happen and you really want to get those dreams you have, try it for a day. Try it for a week. Try it for a month. Whatever you got to do. Try to go based on awareness. Be in the moment and follow what you feel to be correct in every given moment. Don't let the what ifs get in the way. Appreciate what you have. Be in the moment. React based on what knowledge you have at the moment and your best educated guess. Don't just talk yourself out of doing something because of what might be. I promise you this, you'll hate yourself. You'll regret those things. It's just not. They say don't live with regrets. If you're going to start letting what ifs get in the way, you'll have many of them, and it will suck. It's Anthony, you're not alone. I believe in all of you. Get it done. Talk to you soon.